So in this lecture, we will discuss another data reduction method. So basically, we want to partition your data into different components. And this is commonly used for the modeling parts. So the idea of data partition is that for the original data set, we want to split data into training data and validation data and test data. So typically, we use the training data for the predictive modeling. For example, you could run linear regression or logistic regression or your training data. And then the validation data is used for tuning, fine-tune of the parameter in your models. And you can also use validated data for model assessment to compare different predictive models. And sometimes we also have a test data. So test data is also used for model assessment. And then based on this model assessment, you can select the best model and give you the final model. So in SAS Enterprise Miner, we have a node called Data Partition node. So in the Data Partition node, there's a property menu of Data Partition. And you can specify your partition methods as a default. And you can specify the percentage for training data, validation data, and testing data. Okay? And we can use 60%, 20%, and 20% for these three options. It is also common to remove the test data, just use training and validation. So that'll be 60 and 40. So that's just a common choice. You could also use 70 and 30%. And then after we finish the data partition, we can use the export data to see the different data sets, training data and test data. Okay? So let's take a look how can we use this data partition node in our HMEQ data set. So I'm going to add a node called data partition and connect the file import to the data partition. And the default choice here is 40 for training, 30 for validation, and 30 for testing. So you can change this one, like say 60 and 20 and 20. All right, so after we change this one, and then we can run the node. And here, the validation set and test set will be both used for model assessment. So it's finished. So after finished, then we'll see a summary information of the data partition and basically tell you original data. This is original data. You have this many 1 and this many b equals 0. And then for test data, this is the summary information of training data and validate data. Okay. And you can also take a look of the data sets by click exported data. Then basically after we run each node, you can take a look of import data and exported data. You can see the difference between these two. All right, and now you see in the exported data, we have training, yes, validate, yes, and test, yes. Okay, and you can click, for example, the validate set and browse the data, and that will be the all data set used for the validation. In the data partition, if you click the imported data, that's the one before we run data partition. Now you see there's only original data, that's trained data. So we haven't split yet. Okay, so that's the difference after, before and after you run the data partition node. So later on, when we discuss a detailed predictive modeling or data mining algorithm, and we will use the data partition to split data into train and validate, and then from there you can see a better picture of why we can do that. All right, so that's the end of the discussion of data partition.